read the whole book without your lens or disguise. And nowhere does it say your logo is the bridge to life. John chapter 14, verse 6 made it plain. I am the way, not your office, not your name. How do you expect me to believe your building saves when Acts chapter 4, verse 12 never carved you on the page? In no one else is there salvation written clean, but you added fine print policies and hidden fees between. You say confess right here, I will grant release. But 1 John chapter 1, verse 9 says confess to him, not your cantor or your priest. Matthew chapter 9, verse 6 still asks the same. Who can forgive sins except God alone by name? At what meeting did Christ hand you his chair? Or did you seize it yourself and stamp your emblem there? I read the contract and your signature is gone. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 5 says, one mediator and you are not the one. How do you expect me to believe your committee reigns above the scripture? 2 Timothy 3:16 sustains. It is not disbelief, it is not mockery. I simply read it and nowhere did it transfer authority. If Christ alone is Lord, Ephesians 4 verse 5. Why does your rule book demand permission to survive? You built a paper tower called permissive light, but Proverbs chapter 30 verse 6 warn not to rewrite. You say we interpret, you just quietly read. But Acts chapter 17 verse 11 praise those who search deep. The Bereans never begged for your approval stamp. They searched the scriptures freely, and heaven called them wise for that. How do you expect me to believe your magazine weighs more than Galatians chapter 1, verse 8 already won before? If even an angel brings another gospel from above, briefcase or tower, it is still corruption dressed as love. You tell me outside us there is no life, but John chapter 6 verse 68 shows Peter looking only to Christ too. Tell me we are the gate, we hold the key, but Revelation chapter 3 verse 20 show him knocking, not asking your authority. Colossians chapter 2 verse 8 already sounded the alarm. Beware of hollow traditions wherein wisdom has a charm. If Christ already paid, Hebrews 10:14 complete, why does your institution still charge interest on the receipt? It is not that I refuse belief, it is that I already believe. But I believe the one who bled and died for me. Romans chapter 10 verse 9 does not say affiliate, it says confess and believe. You cannot sell me heaven with contracts and delays, because John chapter 8 verse 36 says, if the sun sets free, chains break away. So keep your members worship, your stamp, your sacred bow. My access to the Father does not pass through your remote. I read the contract, and your name is not signed there. The author is Christ, not your institution's prayer. If the veil was torn, Matthew 27:51, who gave you permission to stitch it back as one? This is not rebellion, this is not pride. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 8 says, by grace, while you commercialize the right, I already read it, I already know. The only way to heaven does not rent rooms below. No names, no logos, no institutions thrown. Only John chapter 1 verse 12, to those who received him were his own. It never said to those who joined your society. So put down the microphone and step away from the stage, because the king never hired you to be his attorney.